So in this video, we're going to be setting up the Arduino. Now, this is going to be pretty basic if you've used an Arduino before, but if you haven't, this is a pretty cool first Arduino project. All right, so first of all, you got your Arduino board. I guess I'll briefly explain what this is, but ultimately, these are pins that will output power depending on how you program the board. And those are pins in which you input power. Those are pins in which you input analog signal. Now we'll just be working with analog output and supplying the Arduino with power via the computer. Now, so the first thing you want to do is grab one of those big chunky USB boys and plug it into the Arduino. And last video I said we're going to be using the BCI to turn on a light. Well, I thought a fan would be a bit cooler, so we're doing a fan this video. Okay, so you want to plug this into 13. I guess it doesn't really matter at the moment, but yeah, that's what we'll use when we're programming it up. And then plug this black one into ground. Okay, so in the last video, I showed you how to use the OpenBCI GUI to extract information from the OpenBCI headset itself and to a little bit about interpreting what that information means. So now in this video, we're going to set up the Arduino and get it ready to receive information from the OpenBCI GUI. So first of all, we need to program the Arduino to be able to receive that information. So let's open up a new sketch. So let's open up a new sketch, and in it we're going to first include the package wire. Now I'm not sure why this works, but okay, this is the only part of the code that I don't really understand why you need to include wire. Everything else works fine. It just when you use serial, for some reason I can't get a message to go over serial unless I have wire included. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is set up a variable called focus, which is going to be a binary value of either 1 or 2, 0 or 1. So what this will represent is essentially whether or not we're focused. So that's the information that we're getting from the OpenBCI GUI. We're getting the focus information. And you can either be not focused, which would be a 0, and then focused, which would be a 1. And so by default, we'll set it as 0 to begin with. Okay, so now in setup, okay, so when the board starts up, we're going to begin our connection with the USB port, which is serial begin. And we want it to transmit at a baud rate of 9,600, which is just the default. We can increase this if we wanted to later. And now we're just going to open the... okay, this is the part where I'm not sure what it's for, but we're going to write wire begin, which I'm assuming, which I usually thought was it was for connection between like an analog external board to the Arduino, but because it wasn't working without this, I'm assuming that it might also have something to do with Arduino's USB signal processing. Okay, so in our loop, we're going to, first of all, set up, okay, so when you receive data from the OpenBCI GUI, there's a lot of different data formats that it transmits it in. For the focus information specifically, it transmits a string of either true or false. And one thing that would be easier than just detecting the entire string of true or false, we can just check to see if we're getting a T within that string true or an F within the string false to tell us whether or not you're focused or not. So we're just going to set that up now. So a character, letter, So that the letter will be, like this character letter will be either T or F. And we'll set that up as serial read. So what we're saying here is, okay, we're getting a letter, we're getting something called a letter, and we're getting it from the USB serial input to our Arduino. Okay, and now we're going to say, now if serial available, which means like if we are getting a USB signal or a serial signal that's greater than 0, so if we're getting a signal at all, and the letter that we're getting is T, then so focus will now equal 1, so we're now focused, and we're going to print, so serial.print focus. So we're going to print that value to our serial monitor just for debugging purposes to make sure that it's working. And then we're also going to digital write 13 high. Okay, and then we're going to turn pin 13 on. So we're gonna send current to pin 13. Actually, I forgot to set up pin 13 at the beginning. So go back to void setup, and we're just going to write pin mode 13 output. So pin 13 is going to be an output pin. Yep. Okay, so yes, when the focus is going to send output through pin 13. Now, else if, so if we're not focused, so if serial available is less than, sorry, it's greater than 0, yep, and letter equals F. So if we're getting a serial signal and the letter from that serial signal is F, what's going to happen instead is we're going to set focus to 0. We're going to print that value for debugging purposes. And then we're going to tell pin 13 to chill out. So serial write pin 13 low. Alright, and then we're going to set a delay of 100 and write this, I'm not sure why, but it works, and transmission. And that's the code that we need. So then you just save that. And so I've already got an OpenBCI fan save, but I guess we can just oversave that. Cool. And then upload it to your Arduino. Oh, we've got a problem here. Okay, oh, just a spelling mistake. So begin, oh, and then send that over to our Arduino. Cool, and it's all good to go. Now to make sure that everything is working, what we're going to do is we're going to open the serial monitor here, and we're going to type the letter F. So that would be, if you're not focused, this is what would come through the serial port. Now we're going to type T, just manually. So that's what would happen if you are focused. So we're just doing it manually through feeding the Arduino the values that we want at the moment, but soon we're going to get the BCI to do this. So as you can see here in the bottom right, the fan turns on when I send it a T, and it turns off when I send it an F. Cool. Now that the Arduino is all set up, we want to set up the OpenBCI GUI exactly how we did last time. So now, once it's all set up, start the data stream. And okay, so we've got our data, we've got like our focus classification thing going. But how do we get it out of this and into the Arduino? So what we're going to be using is this networking widget here. So if you go in here and you go to networking, you'll find this. Usually it's set to LSL, but because we're using the USB port, we'll change it to serial. We'll change the data type to focus and keep the baud rate to whatever you want really, but make sure that you have this number in your Arduino code. When I showed you how to do this last time, I actually put in 9600, but that is not what OpenBCI is sending out. So we want to change the code that we wrote last time, just that one bit. So open up your old code and just change that value, which used to be 9600 to 57600. All right, and then it should be good to go. So now, once you start the data stream, it will start sending the data from that to your Arduino. One thing you might want to check before you do this though is where it's sending it to. So these are all your different USB ports. If you want to know which USB port your Arduino has, you can open your Arduino scripting sketch window, and if you go into tools and then go to where is it, port? Yep. It will tell you which port has the Arduino. So it's this dev/cu USB modem. So you just look for it there in this window, and yeah, so that's the one we've already selected. All right, and now we're ready to start controlling this thing. So we'll open the data stream by clicking start, and now if I focus, I should be able to start the fan. There we go. Oh, cool. And there you go. That's your first little BCI system. Pretty cool.